it's Robin the Delta Crafter, and I want to thank you for joining me for a very special video on my YouTube channel. Today's video is a part of the Card Crafters Collaborative, which I host each season on my YouTube channel. I'm very thankful for the crafty YouTubers who have joined me in this collaboration. We've all made creations centered around the Winter Wonder theme. Please make sure you stop by their videos, which will be linked in the description box below. Let's go ahead and get into my creation. So I'm going to be using a bunch of different products from different companies, but we're going to start off, and the main attraction is this Simon's Snow Globe from Simon Hurley and Spellbinders. We're going to create our background using the Snowflake background stamp from Pinkfresh Studio. So we're going to start off the process by creating this background. I wanted to make a snowy scene for the background of my snow globe. And so I'm using this red rubber stamp and some embossing ink to create my, my snowflakes on my card panel. This card panel is a piece of Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock in the 80-pound weight. So I just inked up my stamp really good with my embossing ink. I used VersaMark, VersaMark embossing ink, and decided to cover that with some clear embossing powder. I didn't want to come in with white. I really wanted the really shininess that this clear embossing powder can give. So I'm just going to cover all of my stamping with that embossing powder. And then I had a little bit of extra embossing powder on my card. So I just brought in a paintbrush to remove that extra embossing powder, and that just took it right off. So I won't have embossing powder where I don't want it. Then I'm going to bring in my heat tool, and I'm going to start on the back with melting my embossing powder. Then I move to the front to finish it off and make sure everything is melted and ready to go. So now that the snowflakes are on there, and I know you can't see them right now because they're clear, we're going to come in and create our background. I have just one of these Altenew ergonomic blending brushes, and I decided to use it for my color blues, blues and for my ink blending, because I use that color a lot, whether it's a sky or ocean or, you know, water, any type of water or anything. And so that's what I'm using here. I came in first with the Prize Ribbon Distress ink. That is the lightest shade of blue that I'm going to use. Then I'm put some Uncharted Mariner down in the middle. And then I'm going to finish this off with some chipped sapphire because I wanted a kind of a darker sky, like to fade to dark as you would look, you know, move up into the deep dark sky. You can see those snowflakes really came to life with that that ink blending, but we're going to make sure that they shine like they should by removing the excess ink that pools on the top, by using a microfiber to just buff that away. And that's what I did there. And now let's take a closer look at this background. And now that that's done, that's all we needed to do to create this background for our card. So we're going to start working on the details for the snow globe. And I'm just going to be honest with you. This is not it's not the hardest card I've ever made or the most involved card I've ever made, but this is not a simple card in the end, and kind of what I was wanting to do, or how I ended up creating this, because I created a snow globe sandwich, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. So I did go ahead and figure out which of the pieces of the dies that are available to use and with this set, which of them I actually wanted to use. So I picked out several of those and ran them through my die cutting machine, my Platinum 6 die cutting machine, in the various different colors. And now you can see what I have here. So I've grabbed my Tim Holtz retractable craft pick, and I'm just poking out all the little holes for the windows and different parts of the dies. Now I wanted to add a little bit of detail to my different die cuts. So I'm going to bring in a couple of Copic markers to add some details. I started off with the YG67 on the trees, and then I moved to the R29 to turn those white houses into red brick houses. Then I followed up with the N6 gray marker for my roofs. So I had cut the other houses out of red cardstock, and so I kind of wanted them to look like a cohesive neighborhood. So they're all going to be red with gray rooftops on them. I thought I was going to add the snow to the rooftops, but I decided not to do that. To just let the confetti and stuff that I use inside the snow globe be enough. I did cut out two of the hilltops. One of them has the houses attached to them, and one of them is just a plain white hill. So now I'm just kind of laying out everything to see exactly where I want my neighborhood pieces to go. I have some trees, houses, and some lampposts to kind of figure out and fit onto this little scene here. And then once I kind of get everything laid out in the place that I want them to be, I'm going to bring in a piece of press and seal tape and paper actually, and pick up the things that I have laid out on the front, since they are kind of also laid on top of that snow hill. Now this die set has a lot of details in it, and so I'm going to take advantage of some of those details and add to them and kind of make them shine and sparkle. So I'm going to cut some little small pieces of yellow cardstock, and I'm going to place that on the back of these houses that are going to be on the front, and that's going to make it look like there's a light on inside the house. So I just took some scrap yellow paper and cut small pieces and glued those down, and that gave us that impression or that idea that there's a light on inside these houses. And added some liquid adhesive to the back of those houses and the trees, and now I'm gluing them and attaching them to the snowy hill that I cut out earlier. In just a moment, you'll be able to see that better, because right now it's kind of hard to see, but right here, like I said, you can see how there were two hills laid on top of each other. So now it's time to move on and attach those trees to the back hillside. Those houses are already attached. They die cut with that hillside. The front one was just a plain one, so that's why we had to do a little bit more work with that one. So while the liquid glue is still workable, I can move some of the pieces, the die cuts, around to make sure they're in the right spot. And I can come in and add the final die cut, which is this small little lamp post to the image or the scene that we're creating. And I'm even going to come in with a yellow Copic marker and color in the part behind the light. Again, details do matter. There's lots of details in this die set. I want to create a little bit of depth and thickness between my layers. I didn't want them to just lay flat on top of each other. So I'm just bringing in a scrap piece of cardstock just to add just a little bit of space between those two hillside layers. So I'm going to sandwich this extra piece of cardstock in between the two layers, adhere that down with that liquid glue, and then I'm going to adhere that top hillside on top of that. It's just a small amount of lift and space between there, but it's going to matter when we put everything together. So while our scene is over to the left drying with an acrylic block on it, we're going to go ahead and start working on the snow globe. So I have two pieces of acetate from Hero Arts that I'm going to cut the snow globes out of. This acetate cuts really, really nicely, and so that's what I wanted to use. I'm going to seal up the two snow globes together using some 1/8 of an inch double-sided adhesive from scrapbook.com. This adhesive tape is so thin, and it's going to work perfectly for this creation. Now, I wanted to point out that if you are cutting acetate, you don't want to use something that's flexible like a magic mat. As much as I love my magic mat, this is not the time to use it. You want to use something that's solid and hard, like your regular cutting plates that come with your die cutting machine, especially if you have a Platinum 6 or a Platinum, a Spellbinders Platinum cutting machine like I do. So I'm just going to go around this top piece of acetate, and I'm just bringing in a piece of white paper here so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to manipulate this double-sided adhesive tape to make sure that it goes around the edge of this acetate circle. Again, I'm going to be making a sandwich with this because I want this snow globe to sit up off the paper. Yes, I could have used foam tape and had it sitting on the paper, but I wanted it to kind of have a little bit more dimension by sitting up off the paper. So this is making a sandwich is going to achieve that. I'm going to bring in the acetate circles and kind of start to measure up exactly how much of the scene is going to actually make it into the snow globe. So I'm kind of sizing some things up here, figuring out exactly where things are going to go, bringing in the base of the snow globe. Then using a pencil, I'm going to make a few marks. Sorry about my head, everybody. I'm going to make a few marks of where this acetate looks best when it's placed on the snow globe creation. So the majority of the adhesive that's going to hold this creation together is going to be behind that black base of the snow globe. So I'm going to bring in some adhesive sheets to help secure the acetate to the scene that we created. Because it's not going to be a whole lot that's going to hold it together, what we do have, what adhesive we do use needs to be strong and secure. The only other place where adhesive is going to be around the edge of the snow globe, snow globe sandwich. So I've kind of matched up the front panel with the marks that I made, and then I matched the back acetate panel with the front panel. Now I'm making some marks on the back of the scene, that is. And so now I can see exactly where I need to have this acetate sheet. So I don't need the whole thing, so I'm just going to trim it down a little bit to make sure that the acetate is still hidden behind the panel. I'm taking that backer tape off, and now I'm just going to place that within those marks on the back of my scene here. So put that down, and sometimes you might have to trim off just a tiny bit to make sure that, again, none of that acetate is showing. I'm sorry, none of the adhesive is showing. So I'm just going to bring in my scissors here and just snip off a little bit just to make sure that it's nice and clean in its final state. So I'm going to peel back just a little bit of the second backer tape, and then I'm going to be able to secure the back acetate to the scene that we created. And you see it's going, I have my marks on the back of the scene, so I know exactly where the acetate needs to go. So I'm laying that down and securing that. And because I use that adhesive sheet, there is a lot of adhesive that's going to hold that acetate in place. So using those marks as well as the curvature of the acetate, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess paper that is hanging around that we don't need anymore. So I'm going to just trim this up and get this back side and actually the front side ready for the next step. So this wouldn't be a snow globe if we didn't have some things floating around inside this little acetate sandwich that we have going on here. So I'm bringing in some of the silver stars from Hero Arts, as well as some of the pieces of the confetti, of a confetti mix from Belle Rose. I didn't use all of the pieces that are in this confetti mix. I just pulled out mainly the snowflakes, and there's kind of two different sizes and colors of snowflakes in this confetti, and I just dropped a few of those inside inside the scene we created. So using some double-sided adhesive tape, I'm going to place a few strips of that onto the front of the card, and then I'm going to secure that top acetate to the bottom acetate as well as the seam. So this is where I'm going to take off the backer tape off the thin tape that we added to the edge of our top piece of acetate. And we're just going to match these up and sandwich all of that glitter and confetti in between the two pieces of acetate. Here I go again with my head. I apologize for you guys. But I really wanted to make sure I got this lined up correctly. So I needed to kind of be on over it and kind of get my bearings on exactly where I was placing that top piece of acetate. So I secured the acetate to each other with that thin tape. Now I'm just adding some more of that adhesive tape to the base, and I'm going to place that onto the snow globe. So you can see how those silver stars from Hero Arts are kind of already sliding down into our snow globe area, into our scene area rather. This looks so much like an actual snow globe. You can see we're going to shake and move some of the pieces around, and it's sandwiching everything between those two pieces of acetate really makes this snow globe come to life. So while that 1/8 inch adhesive tape that I use is clear, it's still a little bit visible around the edge of that snow globe. So I'm going to hide that behind some glitter. So I'm bringing in my Artiste glue, and I'm just going to run a bead of this adhesive, this liquid adhesive, around the edge of this acetate. And I'm going to cover that with some chunky glitter. So that's going to add even another layer of sparkle and shine to this snow globe. So this is some older glitter that I have, chunky glitter that I have, but any type of chunky glitter you may have on hand would work for this, because all we want to do is just really hide the that adhesive tape and make sure that doesn't detract from the creation that we're making. Because this is, we put that adhesive, that glue on top of some acetate. This needed to dry overnight in order to make sure that everything was nice and dry and secure before we moved on to the next part of making our card. So now that everything has had a chance to dry and secure, I did go ahead and die cut this Merry Christmas sentiment that goes along the bottom of the base of the snow globe. So I'm just going to add a few pieces of foam tape both to the back of the snow globe as well as to the back of the panel and secure everything to our card base. This card base is made with accent opaque cardstock in the 120-pound weight. And so it's a very sturdy cardstock for a card base, which is what you're going to need in order to support this snow globe, because while it's not heavy, you do want to make sure it's not super heavy. You do want to make sure that everything is supported so the card doesn't flop over when the person that you give it to goes to stand it up. Because I did use a top folding card for this. So I'm just going to pull back the backer on the back of the foam tape, secure it to the card base, and with that, this card is complete. I want to thank you guys for joining me for this special video on my YouTube channel. Please make sure you check out all the other creators that have joined me in this 3Cs Winter 2023 collaboration with the Winter Wonder theme. As always, the products that I use today will be listed and linked below in the description box. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Delta Crafter, as well as on my website, thedeltacrafter.com. I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season, and until next time, everyone, enjoy!